Welcome to the Relationship Workout for Men podcast, season 24, Navigating Emotions in Relationships. We're in episode 3, What do you do with your emotions? Today's guest is Lindsey Sherwin. She's an artist, registered drama therapist, expressive arts therapist practitioner, mental health counselor, and social entrepreneur based in New York City. On today's episode, we're going to explore how men can better harness and utilize their emotions to enhance their intimate relationships. And we're going to continue on from the last episode where I set up, I think, a scenario that all us men experience. Our wife has a need. She's tried to express this need to us. We didn't hear it. So now she's coming at us with a lot more frustration. We hear it as nagging. We feel frustrated, angry, and how we're, in this dialogue. And so how do what my objective, I believe, should be to be empathetic to her experience, to her need, to understand that. But it's hard for me to get out of the way of my own emotion because I'm feeling attacked, frustrated, angry, whatever those words are. Like, what do I do? I think that's a scenario that all us guys experience. So, Lindsey, welcome. And what do you think about this topic?
I appreciate this topic because I think that this is just delving into it a little bit deeper in terms of what we can do as professionals and as support people that work with men. And so there's a number of ways to go about this. I think this is really more, instead of an intervention in this particular situation, it's more like looking at one's psychology, really, because this is the part where you're really being able to, if you're able to, and then this is why it could be a challenge, right? If you're not able to accept what you're feeling in the moment and identify it, your anger is going to manifest. And so when you're able to acknowledge, I know it sounds really sort of primary, but like if you can just allow yourself to think for a minute and have some regulation, right? I think when we use this term in the clinical space a lot, but feeling dysregulated or like out of our body, it's there is a cause for that. There's something going on there. It's needed to identify, because when that happens, when we all get upset, we all get, like, I wouldn't say to the point of anger or rage, but like upset or like going back and forth with conflict. You're not allowing your prefrontal cortex to your executive functioning system to think, right? You're not using your rational brain. So you're sort of getting really hyped up in the emotion. And at that point, there's got to be some rationality to just say, you know what, this is really upsetting me. I'm not feeling good about this. I have to just take a break. I have to take a step back. We need to get to a point where we can really say that to ourselves, or we will continue to get hyper aroused or activated. If somebody is activating you to a degree where you're just like, this is ridiculous, like, I cannot believe that we're going through this again, this is like nonsensical, then there's more going on between you two, and that needs addressing, right? But if it's just like a disagreement, but you see a consistent ongoing presence of disagreements in your mutual space between you in the dynamic, it's sort of maybe pointing out, look, like, this is about communication. This is about noticing and awareness. I see that we argue a lot, honey, and I'm noticing all the time there's just all these different conflicts. Can we just sit down on this really cozy sofa right here and talk about that? Can we just point that out? Are we able to do that? And this is assuming that you're on a level of genuine comfortability where you can really say, I don't like how this is going. We need to talk. If that is not happening and you're just like going back and forth, again, it's like, awareness. How do you get awareness? Well, you pick up different skills, and we can go through that. Learning how to meditate, learning how to exercise. A lot of guys go to the gym, right? That should be regulating your nervous system. That is allowing your body to be prepared for these fight or flight moments, another clinical term that we use, right? Which is a lot of how we respond in life, right? Like, this is knowledge of life. Like, if you're not saying fight or flight, then you're saying like fear, your fear-based reactions. Everyone has fear. So if you're noticing that, you're going to have to find things to do, which most people naturally gravitate towards, like going to the gym, working out. Look, I got to go for a quick run. And a lot of guys will just run out of there and say, I'm going to the gym. Like, don't talk to me, right? Like, don't bother me for an hour. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that if you know you're getting upset and you need to leave, I'm not saying don't tell your partner where you're going, like you want to be communicative, but if you're like, look, I don't want to be bothered for like an hour, I'm just going to run out and go to the gym, and then we can come back and talk when I'm ready, that's the skill that needs improvement. A lot of people are not doing that. They're just going with it. They're just like, don't talk to me, and shut down. So knowing that you need your time and space and being able to both, in a combined way, this needs to be combined. You acknowledge, let's take it from the top, acknowledge there's an issue. You need some space. You need to talk about it right now, or you need to let it go and give it some breathing room. Go to the gym, go, meditate in a different corner of the apartment or the house, then come back. It must be addressed though verbally.
So it sounds like what I'm hearing is if we're going back and forth, so if we're ever going back and forth, there's always a ton of stuff underneath it, right? Just if there's a lot of intensity to that discussion, then and if you've been with someone for years, there's probably years of stuff underneath it that's building upon this intensity. But I'm hearing that as soon as you always know when it's going back and forth. She's saying something, we're starting to interrupt each other. It's like this thing that to be able to know that our objective, if I just say, if there's one relationship skill I should be able to have, is to know my objective right now is to get to a place of empathy. Because my partner, my wife, she's not upset at me because she wants to be upset at me. It's not like, and there must be something that she's upset about. Right. I must have contributed to that in some way, at least in her mind, right? I mean, maybe we'll find out that I didn't, but for right now. So it sounds like being able to name my emotion, because that's what's getting in the way of me being empathetic, right? My feeling angry, this fight or flight kind of instinct. It's like, how do I get to that? Like, I think you just said, so naming that, I'm feeling really frustrated right now, maybe naming, look, I see we're going back and forth right now. I want to be able to get to a place of empathy, but right now I can't. Let me go to the gym, or, it's like, right now I can't, is there kind of, I almost like for us guys, like, give me like the words to use, like if you could post it on the, say, help me, because it's not natural for us, right? I mean, we're going back and forth. I just want to get out of there, right? That's what us guys, we just like leave. We're like, I don't want to deal with this anymore.
Yeah, which is why I pointed that out. Like, I don't want to deal with this, and you're out the door. And that is, in that moment, that choice, and I think this is also about making choices and decision making, that choice to leave in that moment is the sort of the toxic part of this, the poisonous part, right? We want to turn that into medicine. We want to improve it through taking that medicine to help both parties. And so this is about internal conflict resolution and conflict resolution in relationships. And if you can say something to yourself, it's learning how to really talk to yourself, is how I see it. Learning how to talk to yourself, learning the phrasing. There are clinical interventions that do this, but like, if you want to sort of back away from that and really just get real as a person in that moment, and like not have to like use clinical intervention, right? And you're just like, I don't need that level of intervention or support. I'm wanting to, my goal is really just to want to be able to say these things, because not everyone requires it, and a lot of people don't. I think it's just managing life, right? Like, to have to like really sit down and go through a whole intervention, it feels more serious. And some of these skills can really help, right? Like using it in daily life. But if that's not required and you're just like noticing this happens and it's not ongoing, once it becomes a pattern and it interrupts functioning, then I would say, yes, you need to have some more clinical skills behind you. But if we're just talking about someone who's really just noticing this in their relationship, it doesn't happen all the time, and it's just like something that comes up, and I just want some like additional polishing or padding around this. I just need a little bit of cushioning here. Okay. I would say learn how to talk to yourself, use phrases that resonate with you. So that is something I might go through with the person, right? Like, what speaks to you? I need a break. I need some time. Really short phrases that resonate. Like, usually it's about space. I need space. Or can we just take a breather for right now? Like, you're validating and you're showing that person that you're in this. You're not really making it about you. You're saying, look, I need space, but you probably do too. It's learning how to think differently about a relationship, not learning how to think. It's learning how to think differently about what is between you. And that needs like skill building. You can naturally understand these things as a human in a relationship. It's sort of like when you think of, natural like species in the environment, right? Like they just learn how to coexist in an ecosystem. Well, we're the same way. Like we learn how to exist with each other by experience, by being in a lot of different kinds of relationships. If you're really saying to yourself, I want to make this one work because this is my partner, this is my soulmate, like if you're really putting a high importance, and I think men do that too, like if they really want to be with someone, they will move the sun and moon to do it, right? And if they're not interested, it's kind of like, you know what, we're fighting and like, I don't really care. Like they sort of justify, oh no, I was busy, or I had to count some money, or I had to like talk to a buddy, but like that's all just like window dressing for like you're really not that important. And so, but if they are, you're gonna want to mitigate. You're going to want to understand how she feels or be a part of this and use languaging, which is intentional. That's the skill, to use that intentional languaging, which you might really feel inside. Oh man, I love this woman. She's just amazing. Like, this is my best friend. Like, I really care about this person. You're not saying that in your head. I understand that. That's not what's going through a person's mind, a man's mind, right? But it's more like, if you know that intuitively, you got to learn how to, like, my suggestion or approach would be helping him to learn how to use this language so it comes out tangibly, it comes out in the relationship, so this woman knows this is what you are thinking, right? It's a lot of it is internal. It's and I think people get that confused with men. Oh, it's all external, it's all aggression. I did mention that because that's how we view them. It's not. A lot of this stuff is internal, but it's not being expressed. It's sort of inward. And so in those moments, the phrasing, I need the breather, I want to make this work with you, really learning how to speak like that and externalize it and convert it. You're translating and converting what you're feeling inside in a short, brief line. Nobody is saying to write a Shakespeare monologue about it. They're just saying to just be simple, clear, and direct in your persona. And if you're more of a feminine man, you can say it in your way, right? There's different kinds of men, so I'm not just saying it has to sound good on paper, like this is what a masculine man would say, but really being able to say, look, I'm converting what I'm feeling inside to a tangible, direct statement that involves and includes both of us in this relationship.
So I think what I'm hearing is, one, naming that I'm upset, and knowing, I almost know before it happens that I'm going to have a flight instinct. So before, I loved how you said it's toxic, turn the toxic into medicine. So instead of just leaving and creating a toxic thing, to actually talk to, maybe we need a break, or I need a break. I'm struggling with, I'm feeling angry, whatever those short expressions are, to really. And I do think we tend to forget our feelings for our partner in those moments, right? We tend to somehow aren't as loving as we could be. But if we could just talk to that, because I think the objective is always to get to an empathetic place for that person, right? Because if she feels that I'm being empathetic, guess what? All of a sudden the tension drops dramatically, right? I mean, because she now feels heard, and that's I think what's created a lot of the tension in the first place, is she doesn't feel heard, so now she's coming at me because for the 20th time she's trying to say something. So if I can get to empathy, then I can help diffuse things to get to the real what we're trying to do, which is resolve whatever need that she has or that I have, or whatever issue we have. So I think we're going to end there. This is really interesting. In the next episode 4, we're going to talk about expressing emotions using your body, which sounds really interesting too. Thank you so much, Lindsey, and we will see you in the next episode.